And this is the real football factories, international. I played Tommy Johnson in the film The Football Factory, which was all about football violence. Fucking nutters. Then I travelled the UK and met the real football firms. Now, I'm going international. 9 countries in 2 months. Around the hooligan world in 60 days. A whole new level of football violence. We'll be in riots. We'll get tear gassed, chased, and even shot at. It's going to be quite a trip. England. It has given the world many great things. But one of its most famous exports is not something it can be proud of. Football hooliganism. For 30 years, it's been the trouble with England. Today, foreign travel is an everyday thing, but back in the 70s, leaving the country was new and exciting, and many lads started following the England team on their travels across Europe. They were the ambassadors for England, on a tour that would visit violence and destruction across the continent. Gilly Shaw was one such hooligan. He's now banned from following England, but in his day, other countries' firms tried to take England on, and he wasn't impressed.
Dutch are fuck all. The Dutch are nothing. All they do is chuck bricks and run.
He doesn't rate the Italians either.
Well, you hear about all these ultras, don't you? Fuck it, they are a load of bollocks.
And as for the Germans...
To me, them just overrated. Them shit.
Although he has a sneaking admiration for the Poles.
Maniacs. The Poles are crackpots.
So what makes your average Englishman such an effective hooligan?
There is something about England fans that is peculiar, and that is that England fans are a group that will stand up when confronted. And if you're starting to talk about England fans as a group of people in terms of that mentality, how many England fans will stand up and be counted when it matters, then a massive contingent. It has been then, and it remains so now.
But the destruction that has followed the English national team is just part of a well-established culture of violence. For most England hooligans are first and foremost a fan of English League clubs. There are 92 English League clubs, and nearly every one of them has a dedicated hooligan following. These hooligan firms were the creators of the English disease, the inventors of football hooliganism, and I'm going to meet some of their biggest stars.
You come to Birmingham, you'll have a race. You want it, you'll get it.
First, you're on my manor, London town. For me, the most exciting, vibrant, and quite simply the greatest city on the planet. And do you want to know why? Because here we do things with a bit of style, touch of panache. You know what I mean?
Supporters of Arsenal and Tottenham Hotspur were all set to do plenty of shouting, but they needn't really have been in such a hurry.
In London, there's a dozen teams, and fans are spread out across the city. Opposing fans are in the same street, the same workplace, the same family. Their hooligan fans are known as firms. When it comes to a league table, there are a few obvious contenders for top spot. I'm talking, of course, about the firms at Chelsea, Millwall, West Ham and Spurs. London's tube network is famous the world over. Without it, the city would grind to a halt. But back in the 80s, it was a battleground on Saturday afternoons as London's firms clashed on the way to and from matches. starting my journey outside one of the most notorious football grounds in Britain. The Den, home to Millwall FC. The club has had a feared reputation for more than 30 years. I'm going to meet one of their top boys from this period, and being West Ham, I'm entering enemy territory.
Bob?
Pleased to meet you, Dan.
Pleasure, Bob.
Pleasure,
Thanks
mate.
for talking to me, son.
Pleasure, mate.
Now, this little manor I'm in now, right, which is a naughty manor. You got to hold your hands up here, Bob. Do you feel lucky to be a Millwall fan? Would you like to walk down here as an away firm? I mean, don't get no worse than this, I don't think.
It's not good, no. It's not clever.
Well, it's the sort of place, and you come out, you've got to make sure you have a police escort or you get straight into your coach, because if you get lost and you walk around the streets, anything slow would happen. People are liable to come out of their houses if they think you're another supporter, possibly attack you. So it's not the sort of place to be if you don't know where you are. Very unsafe place.
So severe was the reputation of Millwall that in the 70s, Ginger Bob and the F Troop found themselves as a subject of a BBC documentary.
And I'm not going away for some dirty northern punts to spit all over me. If he spits over me, I'll put a fucking pint glass in his head.
Well, we want to do a few geezers out there, like. We're the F Troop, see what I mean? We love a row, we go football. And this is it.
Tell me a bit more about the F Troop and all, Bob. Like, obviously, proper firm, yeah? And you was one of the top boys, yeah?
F Troop are guys who were absolutely ruthless. A lot of them psychopaths, no fear whatsoever. You're talking about a firm which didn't have big numbers. We used to go into ends, 10, 20, 30 hand and take on the whole end.
In 1985, Millwall faced Luton in a quarter-final of the Cup. Now, the last time Millwall reached this stage of the competition, it ended in a riot at the Den. So what unfolded at Kenilworth Road was so violent, so dramatic, football would never quite be the same again.
Last night saw some of the worst teams all teacher being ripped up and the teacher coming out on that far side of the field now.
Millwall's visit to Luton resulted in the most violent scenes ever televised at a football game. 700 seats were torn from the stands and thrown onto the pitch, and a policeman was given the kiss of life in the centre circle.
50 police charging across the ground.
Today at Luton, they're clearing up and counting the cost of a game of football against Millwall.
50 years I've been here and that's first time.
I heard them saying, we lost. Come on, start, grab anything, break everything and break everything you see in front of you.
Daylight and the full extent of the damage to the ground was plain to see.
Luton's firm, known as the Migs, tried to stand up against this invasion of their town, and a 17-year-old Tommy Robinson was among them.
This is the end that was given to the Millwall fans that night. Normally that would hold 5,000 to 6,000. That night there had to be in excess of 8,000 or 9,000 people here trying to get into that ground.
It was Millwall supporters behaving bad, I suppose. It was a Luton club not being able to organise the match. It was the Luton turnstile operators, right? It was the police not being able to control the situation and organise it. Really, if you know there's going to be a disaster, they should have called the game off and had it replayed another time. They should have called the game off.
Bob, straight, I don't know regrets for you. Is there any regrets for the life you've led?
If I'm a time again, I wouldn't go along the same path.
Okay.
But, having said that, working class boy out the Elephant Castle, the old man take me to the club. I followed the team religiously. It's like a religion. It still is to people.
Absolutely.
Fighting in the firm from the age of 11. I'm now just coming up to 48, 37 years, but I'm like retired now. You had to prove to the top guy, the leaders at the time, that you could rise to the top. It's like rising through the ranks. Absolutely. So you had to be able to perform to get right to the top.
Millwall has been involved in one of the most intense rivalries in London for the last 30 years, and their hated enemy is West Ham.
On platform 4, a scuffle developed when gangs of Millwall and West Ham supporters tried to snatch each other's scarves as trophies.
West Ham's firm came to the fore in the 80s. Their name became synonymous with organised football violence. This was them in their heyday. They were known as the Intercity Firm, the ICF. And one of their top boys was Cass Pennant.
This is Fortress Upton Park. Okay. Right? Millwall have come in 1978 Judgment Day. It's just pure hate, yeah. Right? This is the most violent derby of all. This is the one the helicopter was up in the air. Yeah, they're the biggest police turnout. But you want to know about West Ham Millwall because the day they talk about Tottenham as their rivals, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And people forget their history. It's always been them.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and it's only them.
In the world of the football firms, the ICF commanded huge respect wherever they went.
The ICF is initials for the intercity firm, yeah? It was a sinister name, call sign for the violent following of West Ham originally. Eventually it became so famous that normal West Ham supporters adopted it because everyone just knew them by that name.
It formed when young Hammers hooligans dodged the normal transport for away games, the football specials, and took intercity trains instead, using student rail cards and discount tickets.
It's interesting that in the early 80s, how the football culture, the hooligan culture started to change, almost, certainly paralleling, but almost reflecting the new mood of Thatcherism, in that everything became more organised and businesslike. And whereas before, going to football, having a punch-up and having a pint and a pie, whatever, it was all just that. It became almost like a military precision involved in the organisation of it.
Right, turn right, the bones are on right.
The fact that this group of people call themselves a firm, rather than a gang or a troop or a crew, you know, which is the standard nomenclature of these things, illustrates, in a sense, that what they've done is to incorporate this sort of new corporate model, you know, of business and success and the Thatcherite dream and so on. So they presented this kind of image as a new kind of football thug, a football thug that travelled first class on the train to Leeds to away games and so on. So with that goes little accoutrements like, you know, the business cards, the visiting cards and so on. So after you stomped on some poor rival's head or something like that, you can just leave him a little card to explain who provided that service for him.
It's a tongue-in-cheek thing from Crafty Cockneys. When you read it, you can see, you know?
You got to hold your hands up, haven't you? Do you know what I mean? That's cheeky.
Dan, you got to look. Remember, like the Terrences, they didn't know what ICF. Following season, the whole world knows what's the ICF. So they're giving it, where's your famous ICF, yeah? They're screaming through the bars for the Northern Eight, where's your famous ICF, you know? And the Crafty Cockneys are going up with the business card. There you go, pal. You know what I mean? We're here. You know? It's just style. It's just Cockney style. You know?
These events took place against the backdrop of increased mob violence across the UK. The miners' strike in '84, the death of PC Blakelock in the Tottenham riots in '85. The authorities were going to clamp down on football violence and clamp down hard. In a series of high-profile police operations, firms were targeted the length and breadth of the country, including West Ham, Millwall and Chelsea. Among those arrested was the ICF's Cass Pennant, but cases collapsed amidst claims of falsifying evidence. 80s faces like Cass called it a day, and as the 90s began, it was a very different world for the firms. Undercover surveillance, CCTV and banning orders were now the norm. Firms had to adapt to tougher times, but hooliganism didn't disappear altogether.
I thought and I'd hoped that we'd actually confined this to 10 or 15 years or so ago.
Crowd violence was nothing new at Chelsea's Stamford Bridge ground. In the 70s and 80s, it kicked off inside and outside the stadium, and their hooligan fans, the Chelsea Headhunters, gained a fearsome reputation across the country. In the mid-90s, Chelsea's improved performance on the pitch meant they were now playing in Europe again, and their fans' reputation preceded them. In Bruges, Belgian riot police made it clear that accept no nonsense. During this period, one of Chelsea's main faces was Jason Mariner.
Obviously, in the early 80s, everyone give each other names, you know what I mean, or give themselves names.
What?
Ours was the Headhunters.
How'd that come about? What was it? What was it?
I don't know, to be true. Well, I couldn't tell you who started it off, you know what I mean? If I was to say who started off, I'd be lying. But whoever come up with it, I think it was blinding, do you know what I mean? You know.
For a section of Chelsea's fans today, Jason's achieved a kind of celebrity status. He's even asked to autograph DVDs about his hooligan career.
I should bring back the shed days. They're the best times.
Exactly.
There you go, mate.
Cheers, mate. Take care. See you, mate. Have a good day, yeah? Have a good day, mate. Yeah, see ya. You know, you don't say, oh, listen, I'm an hooligan, I'm a Chelsea headhunter. No. You go to football, you have the crack, you have a few light hours, or you don't have a light hour. And if you ain't had a row, it ain't the fucking end of the world, do you know what I mean? It's a bit better nowadays because Chelsea are playing, you know, I mean, top elite, you know what I mean? But, you know, to be honest with you, I used to fucking love Division 2, you know what I mean? You know, the gaffs you used to go to are sore, but unbelievable.
But, so it was proper naughty before with CCTV? And...
Yeah, it was proper, you know, that's why it hit the media so much, that's why I believe that there's so much hype surrounding the football violence.
In the 90s, increased security in and around the grounds meant that firms took their battles to the surrounding streets and neighbourhoods. In this era of the CCTV camera, the reputation of one firm continued to grow. Time for me to meet Tottenham's Yid Army.
Okay, so look, this is the 1990s. You became one of the top boys, yeah?
Yeah, shit.
How does that come about, son?
Do you know, being brutal, mate, it just comes about, you know, it comes about through respect and it comes about through, you know, through my actions over the years, you know what I mean?
Yeah. What, no proper moment for you when you thought, right, this is a bit of me, do you know what I mean?
I'll tell you, yeah, about 10 years ago, we had it with Man City on the pavement. I remember someone turning around and saying, mate, you're fucking, that's it, mate, you've done it, you know what I mean? And I was like, yeah, this is me, do you know what I mean? This is fucking what I'm about, you know? And, you know, and be truthful, I set out to do that and set out to bring our firm together, which I've succeeded, you know?
Tottenham, a club with traditionally strong links to North London's Jewish community, has a hooligan history going back more than 30 years. In 1974, Tottenham fans were the first to export the English disease abroad, rioting at the UEFA Cup final against Feyenoord in Holland.
Your arch rivals, right?
Yeah.
Now, I would say Arsenal, yeah? Ain't no, is it?
No.
Ain't no, is it?
Not the firm, no.
Who would it be?
Not this Chelsea.
It's Chelsea, yeah?
Without a fucking doubt, you know what I mean?
Okay.
And, you know, and in a way, you know what I mean, I do respect their firm because we've had wars with them for 10 years, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're the only people that have really come to us, you know what I mean? And sort of like, well, we've gone to them all the time, but anyone who's given us any competition.
The rivalry between the Spurs and Chelsea firms became headline news when they clashed outside the Ifield Tavern near Stamford Bridge. 200 of Tottenham's firm gathered at nearby pubs, then left at a given time and marched onto Ifield Road.
And Chelsea were at the bottom of the road. It's just something you fucking dream about, really, do you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Something I dream about, you know what I mean? Not everyone else does, you know? Give them their due, they stood their ground. But the boozer got annihilated. Yeah, there was a lot of claret about, it was a lot of, you know, messy.
Yeah. It's always been much tougher for the firms and all that, what with the old CCTV and the old bill and all that. How have you got your nut round that?
It's a nightmare, mate. As in, you know, I mean, I got my nut around it, but I ended up doing 3 years inside, didn't I? Do you know what I mean? So I got put away with Tottenham Chelsea. That was all on camera. I mean, it's the operation they used to get hold of me. Yeah. Was like something that you see on films. You don't think it happens in real life. I mean, there was old Bill dressed as workmen, carpenters and all that outside West Kensington Station.
Proper surveillance.
Yeah. And then like up above the boozer we met in, it was a camera crew filming the whole thing. And then 2 weeks later, door come off and I copped 3 years. You know what I mean?
Oh.
So yes, you know. It's on a different level now. The way the old Bill deal with everything is because there's grasses everywhere, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they obviously tell him what's going on, and that's how it gets done.
It was over in just 2 minutes, but after hours spent playing back this video, police gleaned enough evidence to jail 7 of the hooligans. An arsenal of weapons from koshers to CS gas canisters to snooker balls was found in and around the pub and produced in court.
I would stress though, it's not just for the sake of having a row. It's people that know what they're doing, do you know what I mean? Yeah. You're having a row with other like-minded people, you know? Okay. You're not going in and having a fucking row with kicking someone up in the head because he's wearing a different shirt or, you know, I despise fuckers like that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Today it seems that the threat of football violence still hangs over the capital. Our fascination with the subject has led to books, films, even audiences revealing the inside story to these London firms.
I do a thing an audience with now, you know what I mean? It's, you know, just have a laugh and a joke, talk about the old days for the people that want to open their eyes on it.
There are a lot of people, you know, that will get off from reading a book like that because they've never done anything like this in their lives, you know? Like people read about gangsters and read about train robberies, but they're not going to go and do something like that in their lives. They're going to go home to their wife and their kids and they're going to do whatever, you know? you go back 100 years, you know, people are fascinated with the underworld, if you like, you know what I mean? You know, or the dark side of things, you know?
Now these firms look for the youth element to continue the story. In the case of Tottenham's Yid Army, the mantle passes from Trevor Tanner to the next generation. They've agreed to talk to us if we protect their identities.
Obviously, we've grown up supporting Tottenham, and obviously we've seen sort of rows as we're growing up, and we've always wanted to be part of it. And now we believe that obviously Tottenham Youth is one of the best youth firms in the country.
A lot of other teams, like firms and that, you can just get mugged off like by the older lot, but we were sort of welcomed in, everyone's treated us well, like no one's sort of like said, oh, we're not welcome sort of thing. It's just a lot of respect there, like a lot of respect from Trevor and that. Like.
They've sort of paved the way for us, and now obviously we want to carry on in the same way they have over the last few years or so, and keep the Tottenham firm alive and the best in London.
London, a metropolis and home to a dozen football clubs. A glance at a fixtures list reveals a London derby nearly every weekend. This familiarity breeds contempt amongst the loyal members of London's top firms. The immediate presence of their enemies keeps every firm on edge and the rest of London braced to take the fallout.
Fucking hate Chelsea, everyone knows that, you know, but I respect him because we've had wars with him for the last 10 years, you know what I mean?
But the English disease wasn't invented in London alone. It was a nationwide effort. And like the football clubs that inhabit the region, the northwest of England has firms that pack as hard a punch as the capital.
Manchester United and Liverpool in general will golf, but it still escalates to Manchester and Liverpool. It goes back to the Docker days.
In the 70s, with the nation in the midst of economic decline, the Manchester Ship Canal took business from Liverpool docks. Eventually they closed.
Goes back historically to when the Manchester Ship Canal was built. When the big ships started bypassing Liverpool and going directly to Manchester docks, the Liverpudlians, you know, took exception to it.
Aggravation, aggravation, la 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 la.
With the docks closing and mass unemployment in the region, young men needed an outlet to vent their anger.
So you had young men who were totally disaffected, very, very angry with the world, and would use football as a vessel to achieve some sort of stance, some sort of statement about what they were feeling.
10 people were arrested in all. 24 were thrown out of the ground. And 4 people were stabbed with craft knives, including a police officer.
Over the years, Liverpool thugs had a reputation for taking European towns by storm and regularly caused trouble in grounds around the continent. This caused the horrific disaster at the European Cup final between Liverpool and Juventus, which shocked the world. On the 29th of May 1985, 39 Italian spectators died in the Heysel Stadium disaster. Heysel marked the beginning of a new era in football hooliganism.
Heysel was a kind of epitome of what appeared to be at first a fairly harmless charge. Just a few people running around. That's what hooliganism used to be, but the consequences of that were awful.
They tried to run away, but a concrete wall blocked the escape route. It collapsed, crushing those on the other side.
And it was just amazing that no one had ever seen that something awful was going to happen before long. And it took something like Heysel for people to wake up.
Hooliganism was now front-page news. Suddenly the world was watching, and politicians had to take notice.
I wish we could get those responsible, get them before a court, and stiff sentences so that they stop anyone else in their tracks from doing this.
Yet more tragedy was to follow the club. Hillsborough was the worst disaster in British football history. I paid my respects at the Anfield Memorial to the 96 Liverpool fans who lost their lives at the Hillsborough tragedy in 1989.
East End now. And there are fans climbing up from the terrace to try and get refuge in the seats now.
This horrific event forced the government to act. It would change the face of football forever.
Heysel and Hillsborough changed everything. Hillsborough more so than Heysel because it changed the design of stadiums.
The game started to tidy itself up, especially looking after fans, putting grounds in order and making the places safe to go to.
This was a turning point in British football. The standing terrace became a thing of the past. All top-flight clubs had to rebuild the stadiums to become all-seaters, with tighter security, better turnstiles and more expensive tickets. This drove the hooligans out onto the streets.
So what's happened in the past 15 years, 20 years since those disasters is a kind of social cleansing of football, a deliberate pricing policy that has pushed hooliganism, they thought, to the back burner.
The football crews who caused problems had to find somewhere else to cause the problems because grounds were cleaned up. That's when things really did change. The idea of organising rendezvous anywhere other than the ground.
Hooligans were forced to organise fights away from the grounds. They formed gangs that became synonymous with the clubs. Liverpool were the Urchins, Manchester had the Red Army or the Intercity Jibbers. Man City were the Young Governors, and Everton, the County Road Cutters. Hatred became set in stone. Firms from the cities Manchester and Liverpool still do battle on the streets to this day. In February 2005, Man United and Everton clashed on the streets in the Battle of Everton Valley.
This morning, riots mar Everton defeat.
Radio City 96.7 News.
This has in fact been described as the worst football violence ever to take place on Merseyside.
So this is Everton Valley, where I'm going to meet Andy Nichols, who's going to tell me about a proper battle between Man United and Everton.
Andy Nichols is known to police as a Category C hooligan, the worst kind. He's been nicked over 20 times for football violence, and he's banned for life from every football ground in the country.
25 years I've known it, only about 3 clubs have ever bothered to come down here. West Ham did. They were done in. Middlesbrough came down, this one did better than most, and Southampton were the only other one who come down here, really. Came down here looking for it, you'd get it, quite simple. Get done in. Very few grounds like this were in built-up housing estates and with the terraces running alongside it where it would just be a paradise. It was just hooligans' paradise, basically.
And?
Hello, Dan.
Pleasure to meet you, son.
And you, mate?
Listen, I just want you to tell me a little bit about this battle that you had with Man United.
United, yeah. 30 of their main lads peeled off, called it on. Everton had 200. I filled them in. Well, they did all right. They did as well as they could. They weren't good enough. But the myth is that they were just that little gang and they went out looking for it. The fact is, 250 of their mates stood from here to that wall away in a mystery escort which was broken by Everton. And that's where the myth of it comes, and the annoying part is they've done well with the numbers game for 20 years, United, and no one can give them grief for that because they pulled numbers in, year out. They're the only ones that carried it on for 10, 15 years. But when they come unstuck, they use the numbers game against them.
Andy met up with Eddie Beef, one of Man United's former top boys, who's been no stranger to street battles over the years. Andy and Eddie were arch rivals who regularly fought each other on the streets in the old days. Eddie had a different version of the Battle of Everton Valley.
Man United stood the ground and got beat up. Not beat up, there was less numbers, yeah? And I wasn't there personally myself. A few of my friends was. They got hijacked off about fucking 200 people. There was only 40 of them. And that's why they think they'd done Man United, but they didn't really.
Seriously, they never did and never will. Because we're hard as fucking nails.
So cut the bullshit now, right? Because that's sort of fucking shite, isn't it? You were doing well there, weren't you? You were doing well until I would have wank. You're not slinging it in, you're talking shite. At the end of the day, right?
Oh, you're throwing this on
At the end of the fucking day now, right? You always play the numbers game, United, right? So answer me this truthfully
always
now.
Always had the big numbers, haven't we?
Always had the big numbers, never take that away from you.
That.
So last year now, you're fucking 500 are getting escorted out to Goodison.
Go on.
And your 40 break away.
Correct.
Correct. And get mullered.
They got fucking leathered.
They got leathered. Where was the other fucking 4,500?
The police had hold of them.
20 police stopped 4,500.
The police.
So use it to your advantage, and then when it goes tits up, you use it to your disadvantage.
You know what, me and him fucking hate each other, you know.
You got done. That's the one thing they won't do is hold their hands up and say we got done fair and square.
I'm not surprised they can't agree, so I'll leave them to it.
That's it. That's what pisses me off about
so
United.
Anyway,
My journey took me from Liverpool to nearby Manchester, the home of the notorious Red Army. It's only 30 miles away, but Old Trafford is a different world, all gleaming glass and neon.
Through the 70s, United developed a reputation for being the most feared hooligan firm in the country, and the worst, or the nadir, was reached in the period when they were relegated at the end of the 1973 season. They went into the second division and basically terrorised the market towns of England.
The Red Army is the most active firm in the Northwest. Every year they have more arrests than any other club. In the 2004-2005 season, 160 Man United fans were arrested at football matches and more than 100 were banned from games. Double the number for any other team in the region. Colin Blairney, a Red Army regular, is well qualified to tell tales of the violent past.
I don't think anywhere's seen as much mob battles as this. The mobs there are uncontrollable, and it's a bottleneck as well. And when they used to clash, it was that bad that you'd just all be absolutely gobsmacked at what happened on that side. A lad lost his eye, sadly enough, here. And the weapon that was used was thrown down there. It's quite a bad day, that, really. And that was 3:10 when the kick-off had already gone off. There was one almighty rumble at the back on the Stretford End Bridge. And that's the only time there's ever been trouble at that side of the ground. The trouble was always here on the forecourt. By God, did you get some good ideas down there, because that's a bottleneck again, splits into two. That was a trap, that. And obviously we knew it and would lure them into these kind of traps. That's just one of them. There's plenty more down there. Pandemonium running battles up and down here. Manic mayhem. Usually there were traps in these side streets for up to 10, 20 minutes, which in football is a long time. 3-4 minutes is a long time in a ring. Never mind 5, 10, 15 minutes in these streets. No control once it hits the side streets, the police here. Not a chance. All you can do is chase you with horses and I suppose the big sticks and batons come out.
Just a few miles from Old Trafford used to stand Main Road, the old stadium of Manchester United's nearest neighbours and bitter rivals, Manchester City. Main Road was in the infamous Moss Side district. The stadium was hidden amongst dark streets and old terraced housing. Main Road was a perfect location for hooligan activity. Even in the post-Hillsborough police crackdown, fighting could break out around the stadium, especially when United were in town.
This clash between Manchester's rival gangs was arranged on the phone 2 weeks in advance. Youths arrived carrying a wooden club, rocks and bottles. After some stone throwing and jeering, the United fans are chased off. But as he runs away, one is caught and dragged to the ground. He's surrounded and repeatedly and brutally kicked. But the man seen here throwing a stone hasn't finished with him. As he lies defenseless, the attacker runs over and jumps on him, stamping on his head. The injured man survived, cut and badly bruised, probably owing his life to changing fashions in footwear. Fans now prefer soft trainers to hard leather boots.
We've seen the major firms of Liverpool and Everton and met the crews from Manchester's two clubs. But there's more to the northwest than these cities. I've been invited to a small town by a firm with a big reputation.
I've come across some naughty people now, so, you know, the only thing that worries me is the fact that I got you with me, yeah, who's holding the camera, and no one can see you, and you weigh about as much as a Rizzler paper. I've got a treacle with me, got some geezer with a clipboard, and we're going into a pub that's got the suicide squad in it. It should be a laugh. It should be a right laugh.
So I've left the glitz of the big cities, the big teams and their feared firms, and have come to the small mill town of Burnley.
I wouldn't have thought this was an obvious choice, Burnley. I'm going to be honest with you, you know. I'm a bit surprised that I've come here. I've been assured that this little firm have got something to say.
Burnley seems to be a place untouched by the social cleansing and corporate world of the modern big cities. Burnley is one of the most deprived places in Britain. Most of the cotton mills, all of the coal mines, and some of the engineering firms have closed. There are few jobs here. A lot of homes are derelict, but people still live in them. It's a perfect breeding ground for football hooligans.
Foresters Arms, right? Suicide Squad. Let's go and see what they've got to say. Mr. Turner. All right, boys. How are you, son? Pleasure to meet you, bruv. Pleasure to meet you, son. So this is your boozer then, yeah?
Well, one of them.
Yeah? Well, I want to ask you first. Thanks for talking to me, son. Anyway, I appreciate that. Suicide Squad, right? Now, where's that come from? That's a right mad name.
Because when suicide bombers started in Lebanon in '83 and that's it. We called the Burnley crew at first.
Right.
And this lad just come up to Suicide Squad because we wrote suicide bombers and walked from one pub to another, got a card printed, sorted in 10 minutes.
Well, as soon as I was told it, I thought, wow, that sounds a right naughty bunch of people. Now, I didn't know too much about you, so yeah. I was a bit like, you know what I mean? You sure we're going to walk in this booze? We're going to end up getting ironed out by this little firm, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you seem sweet as, but it's early days yet, you know what I mean? I'm sure someone's going to glass me anyway. Only joking.
It seemed to be going really well until I put my foot right in it.
You know, you're quite a small club, and you know you've got a naughty little firm, but no, not many firms. I suppose firms up here know about you, but you know, you're almost like in the background. You know what I mean?
No, can you say that, right? We can go down to London and turn you over. Simple as that. Any big team comes to Burnley, they have it. Simple as that. They fucking do.
Yeah.
It is. You ask Man United, ask fucking Liverpool. You come to Burnley, you'll have a row. You want it, you'll get it. You know when you know if when you get sent to prison, you come out and want to do the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Otherwise, that's how you love it.
Yeah.
And if you don't love it like that, you don't do it again, do you?
No, that's true.
If you don't like jail, don't fucking do the crime.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
But if you just come out of it an hooligan and go bang, 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 every time I've been nicked is through violence, through hooliganism and riots.
Yeah.
And that's it. Well, you've done as much jail as me. Football hooligans don't fucking bother me.
No.
Do you know what I mean? I've done fucking jail sentence after jail sentence after jail for football hooliganism. It don't fucking bother me.
No.
You come out, they all say it rehabilitates you. It don't.
No, of course it don't.
It fucking you're born with it. Like Beckham were born, he didn't learn his fucking skill, they were born with it.
Yeah.
Rembrandt, the painter, were fucking born, he didn't learn to paint a fucking brilliant painting, did he? Fucking didn't, did he?
No.
Fucking hell, they're born with it in the fucking genes, innit?
Yeah, absolutely. You got it in you, ain't you? You either got it in you, or you ain't. You either like to hold your hands up or you don't. It's just you're born with it, ain't you?
Of course you're born with it.
And that's what it's about, you know what I mean? If you ain't doing it on the terraces, you're going to be doing it somewhere else. It's just that violent streak.
No, it's not a violent streak, it's being proud.
Being proud of your man?
Yeah, being proud of your man, and being fucking don't let people take the piss out of you. Yeah. Basically, that's it. Be proud, be a proud man, no one takes the piss.
They're defending your patch, innit?
Of course it is, yeah, territories.
I met the younger boys. They have their own firm.
Pleasure, mate. How old are you two? 19. 19?
These teenage lads had already been in trouble for their part in football-related violence.
I've just been caught Thursday now, Southampton.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Got off with a fucking 2-year conditional discharge. But,
for what? Just standing there, or did they catch you on the? Did they catch you on the radio?
Yeah, CCTV.
They got you on that?
Yeah, about 10 of us.
Really? When you know, I mean, when you're looking at a bit of bird, is that a deterrent, or do you think, fuck it, I don't give a fuck, I just want to kick right off?
It's just that, yeah, but fucking boys, you love it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You want it. Go for it, don't you?
And for you two, I mean, for them lot, it don't matter about the result. What about you? Does it matter about the result in the football, or is it just about having a tear up?
To me, it's both.
Yeah?
I like football, that's why the passion comes into it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I then met the rest of the squad, and Phil told me about when he was attacked by a police dog.
Police dog attacked me, yeah, got me. Because all Burnley lads were fighting with police, weren't they, outside Clog and Spindle. So I thought, fuck this, and that dog were all over me, mauling me, running loose. I just fucking got over it, pinned it down and I was smashing it on fucking floor. And then I thought, fuck this, and I picked it up, threw it right into police. And that's no fucking word of a lie. Fucking hate them bastards. Hey, I've got it there, look. Fuck the police.
Phil got 6 months for his assault on the police dog. I thought it was time to leave as I realised I was dealing with some dangerous people.
Come up here a bit. That's exactly what I expected, to be honest. Now these are nutters. This little firm. This takes it to a new level because they've got absolutely no fear of anything. They don't care about anybody. They're very, very passionate about. They don't care about the result either. Very passionate about Burnley, about their manner, which I would have thought was quite a hard thing to do, really. You know what I mean? But these are naughty people. This is the new generation. I would have thought. You know, this is the class of people that really just do not care at all about anything. They don't care about a thing.
If you ever visit the Northwest, be careful what you wear. This area is active, very active. I've come to the end of my trip, and I'm heading back down the country to London. It's hard to tell where football hooliganism in this country is going. The government say that they've stamped it out. But to me, the English disease is alive and well, because for some of these hooligans, fighting is in their DNA.
He wants to be a football hooligan. And if he wants to be one, so be it. I've told him how it is, get in trouble, go to jail, live and fight another day. All right, son, want to be an hooligan? That's the next generation of youth. Coming through all the time, you'll never take it out of us.